Is exercising every day bad for your muscles? On today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we're diving into part 2 of this question of whether or not you should be exercising every day and if it's something that is actually good for your body or if it might not be the best for your body. We're going to cue the intro song and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, welcome back everybody to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we are coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, here in Schaumburg, Illinois. Now, at Muscle Activation Schaumburg, we believe your health is your most valuable asset, and it is our belief that exercise is the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. Now, today we are diving into part 2 of this question of whether or not you should be exercising every day, and if exercising every day is something that could be bad for your body, or if there are ways to do it that are extremely health promoting. So let's start off with a recap of part 1. If you haven't heard part 1, make sure to go back and listen to it, because we're just going to give kind of a 10,000 foot overview so we all know kind of where we're picking up right now.
So in part 1, Charlie and I started this discussion, and actually I think we were both planning that it would be maybe one podcast, but there was so much good information that we were talking about and discovering that we had to chop it in half. In part 1, we talked about a lot of assumptions that are made about exercise. And if you're just jumping in today, the assumptions that are often made about exercise is that it's a stressor to your body, and the way to get benefits from exercise is actually to do some kind of breakdown of your body to rebuild. You've heard that story, right? Where you have to create damage to your body or create, micro tears to your muscle if you're being technical, and then take a few days to recover. That's the soreness and all that jazz. And the question we were trying to answer by exploring a lot of these assumptions was, is it healthy or is it not healthy to be exercising every single day? And the big answer to that question is that we have to actually change our perspective on exercise and what it is doing for us and how we use it so that we can further explore this question. Because if you go by the assumptions that are currently out there, then yes, the answer would be no, it's not healthy to exercise in that manner every day, to be breaking down your body and then having to rebuild it. That would be so much stress on the body. So today we're going to continue to explore this idea of how can we use exercise as this tool, as a health promoter. And really, Charlie and I believe it's one of the biggest pieces that can contribute to your health. And just as a little plug, I was just thinking, we haven't mentioned the title of our podcast in so long, Exercise is Health, but exercise is such a crucial portion of your health. A lot of people think like, oh, you can exercise to promote your health, but it's actually mandatory to exercise to promote your health. There's pieces of your health that cannot improve, will not improve without exercise. So welcome back to the conversation. Here we are today with part 2.
Now, to add to that, one other big piece that came out of part 1 was the 2 different types of exercise that we are talking about. And one was exercise that uses your body, and the other is exercise that builds or rebuilds your body. And to get all the details about that, go back to part 1. But again, just kind of a 10,000 overview of that. The general idea is exercise that uses your body is exercise that is very externally focused, both long-term, short-term, and immediate goals, versus exercise that builds or rebuilds your body is very internally focused. Again, long-term, short-term, and immediate goals. So again, go back to part 1, catch all the details, because we are going to be building on that today. Exercise that uses your body versus exercise that builds or rebuilds your body. We are going to actually break down that latter category, exercise that builds and rebuilds your body, into 2 more types of exercise, which will get a little bit more clarification on how you should be exercising every single day.
Let's dive into this exercise that builds our body, because again, we're trying to figure out how can we use exercise that doesn't do this, breaks us down first to rebuild us up later, because that is like a few days of a process, right? And then we have to go through that whole soreness, recovery, feeling achy, and not everyone enjoys that feeling, myself included. If you're in that category, good news, we're going to be talking about exercise to build or rebuild your body. And yes, this will be exercise. That doesn't mean it's easy exercise. So if you're tuning in and you love exercise, you're like, yeah, but I just love the burn. I love all the stuff. I like the soreness. This doesn't mean that you're not going to be challenged when you exercise, but it does mean that we're going to be using some strategy so that we don't take one step backwards to hopefully get 2 steps forward. Hopefully we can just do the forward stuff.
And I just want to add to that, to kind of go off that idea of, well, yeah, but I like that type of exercise. That's fine and well, but remember the context of frame under which we are putting this is exercise that builds your health. Just because you like it doesn't necessarily mean it builds the health and function of your body. So I want to make sure we make that distinction as well.
Yeah, and if you do like to use weight training or your exercise in that way of enjoying like that burn, you feel like you like feeling all jiggly when you leave the gym or you have to crawl out of your workouts and stuff like that, that's totally cool. But remember, that's going to be in the category of exercise that uses your body. So today we're looking in the category of the exercise that builds and rebuilds your body. So in this category, we have 2 styles of exercise. One, which is something that Charlie and I call all the time exercise, and one that's called special event exercise. So we're going to take a little bit of time to explore both of these styles of exercise that have the opportunity, when used appropriately, to build and rebuild your body.
So let's start by talking about all the time exercise. And to define all the time exercise, it's physical activity that you get throughout your day that you wouldn't typically classify as exercise. Think about all the time that you are moving throughout your day, but you're not necessarily counting that as your workout. So what does that mean? It means like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. It means walking from your car into your office, doing yard work, doing chores around the house, just getting up from your desk and walking to the bathroom and back, okay? Those are times during the day where you are being physically active, but you're not thinking, oh, good, I'm getting my workout in. But we still need to recognize that this is a type of exercise because there are tremendous health benefits that do come from doing this type of exercise. And not only that, but to glean the full spectrum of health benefits that can come from exercise, this is a necessary component of physical activity that you need every single day.
Actually, I was just having a conversation with one of my clients the other day, and I was asking her, hey, are you getting in your workouts in and movement in when you're not here with me during a session? And she said exactly this, and I've heard this so many times. She's like, I almost never sit down throughout the day. So that tells me that she feels she's moving throughout her day almost all day long. That is all the time exercise. That is, I'm moving, I'm up, I'm mobile, I'm doing things, I'm going grocery shopping, or maybe your job is quite active. Like Charlie and I, as trainers and MAT specialists, we get in a good amount of all the time exercise because we'll spend hours a day on our feet moving around. Be mindful that this is movement based, using your muscles based. I don't want you to get this that, oh, well, if I just get a standing desk at work, then maybe
Right.
that would count as all the time exercise.
Yeah, we've had to clarify that for people as well. Standing and not moving is, from an all the time exercise standpoint, the same as sitting and not moving. It does remove a barrier where you don't have to stand up and then move, but from the way we're looking at it, it's literally the exact same.
Right. So because you're standing and you're not moving, there are some nice things to that because, your body's in a different position. You're on your feet instead of your butt, and it feels nice. Sometimes you can have better postural choices. I don't know. But it's not going to be the same as actually moving. So I just wanted to clarify that. So you probably know some people that never work out, but they're like, yeah, I just move around all day. I'm a highly active person. They're getting a lot of all the time exercise. Now, one thing to note about all the time exercise is that it has to happen all the time, right? So it can't just be, my morning from 10 to noon. I'm really active. I always go out and garden, and then, I mow the lawn. I do all the stuff I need to do with laundry. Those are very active things. But if it all happens within those 2 hours, well, then you're not getting enough all the time exercise. all the time exercise has to happen throughout your day. That means from the moment you wake up to when you go to bed. If you think about each hour, there's about 10 minutes in that hour that you were moving at a minimum. Think about that as you are thinking, okay, did I get my all the time exercise in today? It's got to be dispersed throughout the day, because the nature of all the time exercise is that it's super low key, meaning you don't have to put on gym shoes. You're not sweating. You're not exerting yourself to a point where you're like, this is a quote unquote workout, but it's movement. But the thing with the movement is that it has to be throughout the day and low intensity.
Yeah, that's a really big part. Honestly, the easiest way that we find for people to get it in is to set your phone timer. Look, if you have a smartphone, it has a timer on it. Set the timer to go off every 30 to 50 minutes and remind you, stand up, walk around for a little bit. It's going to be a little weird at first to get used to. If you just listen to that last statement and you got a little bit of hesitation in you, you thought, oh no, I can't do that. It's because you're worried about it being disruptive to your day. But I guarantee you that if you implement this and set your phone timer for 30 to 50 minutes at a time, when it goes off, stand up, move around, you're actually going to be far more productive than if you just try to crank through the entire day. If you don't give yourself those little breaks, and especially if you're not moving throughout your day. So if you got a little bit of hesitation, if you got a little bit of resistance in you, that's okay. I get it. We hear it all the time, but I'm telling you, try it out and watch as your productivity improves, but more importantly, watch as your health improves as well.
We actually do this program called the One Workout Away Challenge. And if you haven't heard about it, you definitely should check it out. But anyways, one of our conversations that we had with our participants in our last challenge that happened in February was talking about what prevents you from moving throughout the day. Because we wanted to talk about what are these barriers that people feel, because if we can talk about barriers, then maybe we could break some of them, and then there's more, all the time exercise. And you know what? It was so interesting. This was not what I thought people would say, but it totally makes sense. Because if you're listening to this podcast, if you're doing the One Workout Away challenges, then you're decently driven to improve your health. That means, you want to do something. You're motivated. So the biggest barrier people said was like, I just have this big drive to get my task done. If I'm sitting and I'm working on work-related stuff, or I'm sewing, or, whatever you're doing, that's that stationary thing that you're not moving around doing anything, is like you have this big drive to get it done. But again, just as Charlie said, what high performers in the workplace have shown is that when you time block and you chunk your time, then you're actually more productive, because there's an end and then there's a restart. And I really think that movement, not only is it going to improve your health, but it'll actually help you be more productive. So you might fall into that category where like, dang, I'm just really driven just to get this done. Like, I don't want to take a break. I just want to get this done. But if you actually break up your day, or break up your hours, I guess we could think, you're actually going to be more productive, and you're going to also get the health benefits that you're looking for from the all the time exercise. So good for you guys for that being the excuse, not because you're lazy, but because you're driven. But yes, getting in that all the time exercise does require you to get it throughout your day.
Now, the second type of exercise that we want to talk about today is called special event exercise. And this is what is generally thought of when it comes to exercise. This is going for your run. This is lifting weights, doing the group classes, whatever it is, whatever you think of when you normally think of exercise. It's usually shorter in time, meaning relative to all the time exercise that you're doing throughout your entire day. You're not doing your special event exercise throughout your entire day, okay? Unless you're signed up for an Ironman race, you're not doing it throughout your entire day. It's 20 minutes to 60 minutes for most people, okay? So it's a smaller chunk of time. But it is something that, as the name implies, a special event during your day. So it is a sectioned off period of time as well. It just doesn't kind of happen haphazardly throughout the day, a little bit here, a little bit there. The other thing is, because it's a shorter period of time, it does allow you to operate at a little bit of a higher intensity, especially relative to all the time exercise, which means you might get sweaty, which means there's likely going to be some kind of change of clothing, change of shoes. The other thing is that it often requires a change of location. Now, right now, people are working out from home. We help people work out from home. We have programs for people to work out from home. But it is not uncommon for people to go to the gym for their all-the-time exercise, or get outside and ride their bike, go for a run for their all-the-time exercise, go do the group class, okay? So those are kind of the key indicators of the special event exercise. 1, shorter duration, which 2 leads to higher intensity, which 3 leads to needing to change your clothes, and oftentimes does require a change of location, either because of going to a class or using the specific tools at the gym, like the machines, the dumbbells, etc.
Now, this one, we don't normally get the excuse of, I'm too driven. That's why I'm missing my workouts. The excuse for this one, as you guys know, is time.
Yep.
Right? Like, I just need more time. There are so many things we could say to this. And if you follow Charlie on Instagram, I've heard him yapping about the fact that you actually don't need more time. And I think we can all understand that, because when something becomes important, we find time to do it.
Exactly.
Anyways, the number one thing to do to make sure you get in your all the time exercise is just schedule the thing. You got to have that hour and a half, that 45 minutes, whatever you're using for your special event exercise, that workout time, it's got to be scheduled. And don't schedule it like when I have time or if I find time, because no one finds time.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. Like, come on. So you got to schedule it. And we recommend doing this scheduling in 2 different ways. One way, which is normal scheduling, like at 12 o'clock, I'm doing this workout. At 5 o'clock, I'm scheduled with my trainer. At 4 o'clock, right? So what time are you going to do this scheduling of this exercise? The other one is event scheduling, which means that you are saying, after I do this, I'm going to do this. Or the first thing I'm going to do is workout. So for example, right when I wake up, whatever time that is, I'm working out right away before I do anything else. Or as soon as I drop my kid off at school, I'm going right to the gym to work out. So it might not be every day exactly at 9:30 a.m., but if it starts at 9:45, 9:25, depending on when you get the kid to school, it's happening after a certain event or before a certain event.
Yeah, usually special event exercise is what people think of when they think, well, I can't exercise every day. And you're right, Julie. It's often a time reason that is brought up, or I'll say a time excuse that's brought up. But I think this is also where the original question stems from, is like, well, is exercising every day going to be bad for my muscles, or is exercising every day something that could deteriorate my health? That I think that's really where that original question is stemming from, is doing special event exercise every day going to be something that is bad for my muscles, bad for my health, bad for my body? And the reality is it goes back to what we talked about in part 1, which is, if you're doing special event exercise in a way that uses your body, meaning in a way that is all externally focused and very depleting of your body, eventually that's going to catch up with you. It catches up with everybody. Now, some people, it catches up with them in their early 20s. That's when it caught up with me. Some people, it doesn't catch up with them until they're in their mid 50s. And if some people, it doesn't catch up with them until beyond that. But I would say it catches up with every single person. However, when you do special event exercise in a way that builds or rebuilds your body, that's the way that you can exercise from a special event standpoint every single day. And it is boosting to your body. It is stimulating to your body. It is, as the name implies, building or rebuilding your body so you can keep doing it. What's really cool is the more you do to build or rebuild your body, the more you can dabble in the exercise that uses your body with fewer of the negative repercussions that often come along with it.
Now, Charlie and I created this program called the Home Workout Program, and we helped people exercise every single day for 75 days straight. If you want to check it out, it's called homeworkout.matschaumburg.com. But anyways, I want to tell you a little bit about that program, because we gave, I think, this really beautiful example of how you can be exercising each and every day, doing special event exercise, which is the one people normally feel like they need a break from. And the key to it is, yes, you need to vary the intensity, because yes, you do need intense workouts to get all the muscle benefits that exercise can offer. But you also can go lighter on certain days, or less intense on certain days, which actually boosts the recovery of your muscles, and it also keeps your joints functioning really well. So a few key factors to when you're doing weight training to build your body, and you can apply this to your heavy days, and you can apply this to your lighter days. There are a few things that will definitely skew your resistance training to make sure that it's building and rebuilding no matter the intensity. And that the first one would be speed. You got to be moving slowly when you weight train. The biggest flaw that we see when we go to the big gym, and I don't know, it's probably not a flaw because that person's probably moving like that for they're not trying to move slow, so they're not thinking they're making a mistake. But the slower that you move, the more likely you are to be in control of your movements, and that will help you be safe and help you learn where to stop for your body. Meaning a lot of people get injured in the gym simply because they moved weight too quickly. They were out of control, whether it was a huge loss of control or a pretty minor loss of control to the point where you maybe wouldn't even think you were losing control of the weight. And then because of that, you are now sore and achy or beat up, or even worse, you feel slightly injured and now you have to take a break for a week, a month, 2 months, which we've seen many times. Another thing you can quickly change to your resistance training to make it a lot safer is to take an internal focus when you exercise. Now, I know we were talking about, we got to improve internal function. One way to do that is to take internal focus. So when you exercise, you're always working like a certain muscle group, or, you might look at a machine and be like, oh, this looks like bicep. But when you're doing that exercise, then do you turn to counting reps or watching the time or thinking about getting the weights up and down? Those are all external focus. If we change it to internal focus, the exact thing we want to be thinking about is the exact things that we're working. So you're moving your elbow joint. So you want to kind of tune into your elbow joint and be like, hey, is this elbow feeling good today? How's it feeling? Is it feeling pinchy, weird, tight? What's going on? And secondly, we want to think about the muscles we're working. So if you already kind of know it to be a bicep exercise, you're thinking, how are my biceps feeling today? How does it feel as I'm doing this? Do I feel a pretty good burn here? Does it not feel stimulating at all? Can I even feel my biceps? Those are the two biggest things that you should be thinking about in terms of tuning in internally to your body to help your body be more building and rebuilding, and to prevent that overuse or that slight or major injury thing that can come from exercise.
The third thing to think about when it comes to using exercise to build or rebuild your body is prioritizing contraction over motion while you're exercising. What does this mean? It means, going back to Julie's biceps curl example, you are focused and you are prioritizing the squeezing of your biceps, the contraction of your biceps versus your elbow moving and the weight moving up and down. All right. So if you are going to kind of rank order what you cared about most during that exercise, you care more about challenging your biceps than you do getting the reps. And that's a really big shift for people, because a lot of times we attach our ability to complete the rep to our ego. We think, okay, well, if I didn't do a full rep, it didn't count. I'm not going to do a half rep here, a full range only. And that focus on motion ends up creating a lot of external focus while you're doing the exercise, which, again, going back to what we talked about during part 1, that's leading us down the avenue of doing exercise that is using our body versus prioritizing the contraction, how much we are challenging our muscles while we're doing the exercise. That's leading us down the avenue of doing exercise that is building or rebuilding our body. So I think that's a really big component of this as well, the idea of prioritizing contraction over motion while you're doing your resistance training.
Awesome. So I want to paint a picture for you of this story of this client that I recently worked with. And I just think it's like such a cool story. Anyways, so we're going to call him Mr. P. And Mr. P is actually one of my older clients I've ever worked with. And he was in his early 80s, 83. He loved to golf. And so that was like his activity, his using his body. He wanted to, how could I exercise? Because he lifted weights. How can I lift weights so that I can keep golfing and doing the activity that I enjoy by using my body? And the logic that he used, and a lot of people use is that when I overdo it in my golf or whatever exercise you like, then I probably should take a break in the gym so that that overuse thing that I did in golf has time to heal. You know, I don't want to overdo the exercises because the main goal is to get back to golf. I don't really care that much about the exercise, but I know it helps me keep golfing. The biggest change that we made that changed his ability to even return to golf faster was talking about how he was using weight training. Because I thought, wait a second, if you feel like you kind of injured your back or your knee or whatever when you were golfing, and that makes you not want to go to the gym because you want to rest and recover so you can get back to golf, well, then what are you doing at the gym that isn't helping you get back to the golf course? Because if we can use principles in the gym to actually help you be able to golf more, wouldn't that be even more awesome? So the only change that we did was I said, when you go to the gym, I want you to keep doing the same exact exercises that you would have done. He was doing, controlled weight training already. But I want you to do half of your normal weight. And I want you to move half of the speed you were currently moving. So when you look around the gym, you should be the slowest dude in the gym. You need to go so slow. And whenever your body feels something other than muscle work, pulling, pinching, pain, tightness, again, anything other than muscle work, I want you to stop the exercise there and turn back around. So if you're doing knee extension and you get halfway through the range and you start feeling your hamstrings tighten up, great, stop right there and go back down. That's all I want you to do, and keep doing that range. Maybe your body will give you more later, maybe it won't, and it's all totally cool. So once we made that change, what was really cool was that this client could get back to his golfing more often. Because remember, exercise is there, yes, to build your body, but we also have to use it as this recovery tool. Like, it should be helping you get back to golfing or dancing or cycling, whatever is the thing you love to do. It should be helping you get back to it better. So those were some of the strategies, and we used a lot of the 3 techniques that Charlie and I just discussed with speed and thinking internally, and also prioritizing the contraction over the movement, just so that this workout can become this thing that is tough on the body to this thing that actually helps reboost, recover, increase functionality of the body.
Now, the last thing that I want to add to all of this is, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, well, yeah, doing special event exercise that builds or rebuilds my body, that just sounds like, like really easy exercise, meaning it's probably not going to be that challenging. And actually, I would say that doing special event exercise in a way that builds or rebuilds your body, when you do it correctly, you can do it as absolutely just gut-bustingly challenging as you want to make it, but you're not going to get the negative side effects that you would get when you do that same intensity, but you're doing it in a way that uses your body. And I think that's the real difference. Is a lot of times people think, oh, this is just going to be, just a really easy form of exercise. Like, is it going to even do anything? And don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, you can make it easier, but you can also make it really, really, really intense, but without the negative side effects, without the negative repercussions. And I think that is really where it gets super cool and super fun for people when they realize that, oh, if I actually like to work out really hard, this is a way that I can do it, and it's not going to make me sore. It's not going to make me feel achy. It's not going to make me feel beat up, and I can keep coming back to it.
Yes. And on that note, I have another very quick story that I wanted to share. I remember just last week, I finished a set with a client who had previously worked with, some other trainers, whatever. And she's like, dang, I can't believe how few reps we do here, but I'm always done when we're done. My muscles feel fully stimulated. I couldn't have done another rep with the perfect form and the thinking internally and all that stuff. And I was like, you know why? Because when we slow down, when we think about the internal stuff, how are the joints feeling? How are the muscles feeling? When we prioritize contraction over motion, you have to do a lot less to get the same bang for your buck. And there's kind of twofold for that. Number one, it's more efficient, clearly. And number two, it's going to be way less wear and tear on your body because you're actually using the stuff you intended to use rather than just do random stuff. It's like, hey, I'm here to stimulate and challenge my glutes for this exercise. Let's just do that and let's do it efficiently and be done with it. When Charlie was talking, I thought, man, I just had that conversation last week, I think, with one of my clients. And she was like, I can't believe how little we do and how much impact that little thing has just because of the strategy.
So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is wondering whether or not they should be exercising every day because every single time they do, they feel achy, they feel beat up, they feel sore, and they're thinking, oh, there's no way I could exercise every single day. Share this episode with them so they can learn about the two forms of exercise and how to go about doing them in a way that builds and rebuilds their body as opposed to just using their body. And while you're online, head on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find this podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week. We'll talk with you all next week. Hey there, it's Charlie again. One last thing. I want to let you in on a secret project that I've been working on for quite some time now. I am planning on releasing a book by the middle of summer 2021. But here's the thing, because I'm self-publishing this book, there's only going to be a limited number of copies available at any given time. So to learn more about this book and to be one of the first to find out when this book actually gets released, what I need you to do is go to exerciseforlifemethod.com. There you'll find out more information as well as some exclusive bonuses that I'm offering just for simply staying in the loop with what's going on with this book. So to learn more and claim your bonuses, go to exerciseforlifemethod.com, enter in your information, and you'll be automatically kept up to date. Learn all about the book and bonuses at exerciseforlifemethod.com. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.